I would now like to open up a virtual roundtable. I have some questions for our presenters. And at this time, I encourage all participants to use the chat box to leave questions or comments. My first question is for Eric Kinsu. Eric, ADB's Indonesian resident mission in cooperation with the European Space Agency has been promoting the use of Earth observation in several domains, water security and disaster recovery, just to name a couple. Can you tell us if there are other emerging application trends?
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Indeed, we are expanding our program on agriculture and water resources as well as aquaculture. Again, it really depends on the needs in country, as Mr. Abdul Idris mentioned. There are emerging needs to measure land subsidence in major cities because they are suffering from over urbanization and being affected by sea level rise. So that's something we will continue working on. But definitely, we are looking also to institutionalize what has been brought by through the partnership with ESA and really build the capacity in country. For us, transfer of knowledge is key for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me stay with Indonesia and ask Mr. Idris. From what we've seen today, Indonesia appears to be very interested in capacity building and skills transfer. Do you have any suggestions about what we should do together to secure a long-term program? And how can this translate into better use of Asian Development Bank resources for Indonesian citizens?
Thank you, Sammy. First, for long-term investment, I think we need to improve several aspects of the supply chain of the data into decision and communication. First, in Indonesia, actually several groups existed, and in the BIG, Lapan, or Technical Ministry in the Public Work, Ministry of Environment, they already has quite a work and try to find multiple sources from satellite methodology, but it's still, in limited number, So we need to expand to have more people to access this platform, and the EOS already give a fantastic platform to collaborate. And second aspect is to improve the algorithm and computing capacity, since in our island countries and tropical, there is also quite a technical challenge, how to calibrate and to produce some good information. Later on, actually, how to make a public knows, and get the content and services from our product, because this many people thinks this area is still in the research, but actually it's already in the practical approach. So we can, the more people knows about our program, it's very good, and it will make kind of quite revolutionary with the previous speaker mentioned about the AI data, the one that is not covered by the commercial services. It will improve our public services and development in water resources, especially. Thank you very much, Dewi.
Thank you. Eric, would you like to jump in and add anything to that from ADB's perspective?
Again, it's how to institutionalize all this knowledge, and that's where, again, a more systematic and better structured approach will be needed. And ADB as a development partner has a great role to act as a catalyst for this transfer of knowledge. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Now let me go back to Alvin. You've included Earth observation-based products in your project. Can you tell us how innovative this is for Cambodia? And do you expect this to trigger additional interest by other co-financing partners?
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. I think when you say, I think it's two dimensions over here we're talking about here. I mean, experience has been used sort of one-off here and there in projects. Thing sits in sort of an office and then after that forget about it, kind of a thing. So in different sectors it's being used, but sort of actually having it used as a tool for medium to long-term monitoring also brings the question also on the economics behind it in terms of the technical support which is needed, the cost medium to long term, and that's the reason why we had tried not to be too ambitious for this project and just focus on just two particular focused areas, the water quality and the mangrove kind of a thing in terms of ecosystem integrity. If this pilot project that we are sort of embarking on proves to be successful, there are lots of questions still there. I believe it can be integrated into a medium to longer term use and have something a bit more sustainable rather than just a one-off thing. So yes, in that sense, it's probably innovative, but even in a paper which was just published 2020, looking at coastal zone mapping and monitoring and protected area management, it's still saying that it's just being explored. Partners, whether it would trigger partners' interest, at this point of time, a fisheries project being implemented by the European Union, EU supported catfish project, which is actually using Earth observation for monitoring basically illegal fishers and boats. I think they're exploring those dimensions. So that is sort of complementary to this. And FAO itself is also doing a CAM-ADAPT project, but I'm not sure to what extent they are using Earth observation, which is what we will explore during the project preparation. So yes, there are opportunities for partnership, and in some ways it's quite innovative from a medium to longer term perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Ms. Yang, my next question is for you. You demonstrated to us how Earth observation is helping to operationalize Strategy 2030. But COVID-19 has had a big impact on Asian Development Bank operations. How do you see Earth observation supporting a sustainable COVID-19 recovery in Asia?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think it's a very good question. Actually, even without COVID pandemic, we are already facing big challenges of reaching those areas. I highlighted in the country I have worked for now, maybe 15 countries at least I have worked with. Very, not just visited once or twice, I have worked with them just like every month I was traveling. So even in those countries, you have already difficulties in reaching out those areas you want to do. I'm talking about mega project, not a small one. So in the post pandemic area, of course, that is even more important. We need to apply the EU or GIS-based cloud platform solutions to do the monitoring, to do the implementation, to be able to collect accurate and more reliable informations. These are all very important. But I would really like to answer the question differently because the KFW colleagues asked very good questions in the chat box. Because what I've seen in the field is when you come up with, discuss with the developing partners and also many country planners, I'm talking about the planning commissions and then the central level planning commissions, they always do things ad hoc, meaning there are so many emerging issues in developing country they have to deal with. So it's a time to apply this GIS EO mechanism, tool, valuable tool, to really shift the thinking from the ad hoc way in looking at all sectors we talked about, more on looking at long-term planning. But you see, the many things we talk about now are not visible. They are not tangible things they can see, right? They are intangible. So, but they are intangible. So so those satellite images, issues, if we put that, connect all these things together, it can be very powerful, a planning tool to wake up the planning people. Look at this impact over time. Look at this, the climate change issue impact, and then incorporate them to their 5-year plan. Because I like the leapfrog way. We need to have a leapfrog when we plan ahead, when we talk about the post-pandemic recovery. So for us to do that, we probably also need to look at a bit of historical data, like the metadata, to look at together with applying these tools together, and then to do some brainstorming with them to do better planning. Instead of doing a project level approach, we can look at the sector level, how we can do things differently. What are the most emergency issues we should invest more? I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I'd like to thank you for addressing KFW's question in the chat box. Before we move on to that, I would like to direct my next question to the International Cooperation and Development Fund. Since we've already heard from Ms. Singh, perhaps I can pose this question to Mr. Ming Hong Yen, the Director of the Technical Cooperation Department. Mr. Yen, given the wide range of applications for satellite technology, where in Asia do you see the most promising opportunities to support development programs?
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Tammy. To answer this question, I think it would be helpful to look at the essential function of the geospatial technology, which is basically a very powerful decision-making tool for not only the public sector, but the private sector as well. It allows the cross-analyzation and interoperation of environmental, social, and economic data. And this data intelligence should help various stakeholders to make informed decisions, and which will lead to a better impacts of resource inputs. And Asia, as one of the most rapid growing and diversified region in the world, I think there are certain development issues that geospatial technology could be very useful. I will give you a very quick example. First will be the disaster management and mitigation. There are more and more evidence and research suggesting that the natural disaster amplified by global warming and climate change should be considered as one of the most serious threats to Asia's development. And it is quite an urgent task to enhance Asia countries' resilience to natural disaster. And in this regard, the geospatial technology are meant to develop to assist risk management and mitigation. The governments could use the remote sensing and the GIS technology to strengthen the disaster preparedness, such as the flood risk area mapping, and also can support to establish the early warning system to make disaster response more efficient and accurate, and also could speed up to the coordination of the post-disaster relief efforts. And the second example that I can give is the agriculture application. Earth observation technology can help more efficient farming techniques, such as soil data collection and analyzing, the optimization of the water resource using, and identify the significant crop and to determine the yield. This can not only increase food production, but also can support decision makers to manage the potential negative impacts to environments. In addition, the pest control is also crucial for the agricultural development. And the GIS technology plays a vital role in mapping out infested areas. Organizations can consequently develop more effective pest management plans. So basically, the geospatial data enhances performance in multiple spheres. And according to our experience, the development of geospatial technology brings quite an interesting correlation onto the scene of different project sites. We can consider the geospatial tech as an impact amplifier and multiplier, which could be applied in various domains and generate cross-cutting benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yan. Very informative, very illuminating. Now I'd like to widen our panel a little bit, and I see as KFW has posed a question in the chat box. I'd like to start there and see if anyone from there would like to volunteer to answer. KFW has a long history of cooperation with the Asian Development Bank in fragile areas, such as Afghanistan. How do you see Earth observation technology contributing to implementing and monitoring projects in these types of settings? Could I call on Meek or Anja to address this?
Hello, everybody. This is Anja. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, Tammy is nodding. Thanks. Hi. I wasn't sure if my colleague Michael is actually on the call, so I'm happy to take the question. Yes, indeed, as you've mentioned, we've been working with and on Afghanistan for quite some time, and that was actually sort of the starting point for us to think about how can we remotely monitor, manage, and verify developmental projects while not being always able to actually go to the project sites and see for ourselves, okay, what is going on, is the implementation on time, etc. Is it according to what we've agreed in the contracts? So KFW set up this remote management, monitoring, and verification framework, which includes also uses of GIS and Earth observation. But aside from this overall framework for monitoring, etc., in fragile context, Earth observation and GIS applications also come in our evaluations, and just very simply speaking from concrete project examples, be it in Afghanistan or in other contexts. So a lot of what the panel has discussed and what was mentioned in the presentations actually resonates extremely well with what's currently going on in KFW with regards to Earth observation and GIS. And I can't speak for the entire organization, but from my perspective, I think we're also going towards building cooperations more strongly, such as with the French Development Bank, Earth observation companies, the overall development community, such as with you, trying to build staff competences and awareness of partners to actually use and leverage this technology for better effectiveness and efficiency of development projects, expand the use of this technology and our abilities to use it, as well as integrating it into processes at KFW so that we have more, that we can make use of this technology more quickly. And as for the concrete usages, yes, of course, in fragile contexts, it's very useful to sort of have your eye on the ground, even when you cannot travel. Though we have remarked that the use of Earth observation and GIS as well is very specific to the different projects. And I think that's what you've all discussed. Every project needs to be, well, analyzed and a solution sought out, an integrated solution, I think it was also called in one of the presentations. So for each project, we would have to look at what Earth observation is useful. And for some of our projects in Afghanistan or in the region, that works well. For others, it might not work as well. And actually, I would like to give that aspect back to the panel. Where do you see the limits or the limitations of this technology? Thank you.
Thank you, Anja. Do we have anyone that would like to answer her question?
Thanks, Tammy. I'll take a first pass, and I'm sure we could get Paolo or anybody else also. So the limitations, I think that, you know, there are, I think part of the limitations are just the fact that the technology is moving so fast. It's really hard to pin down exactly which, you know, technology to utilize. We know today, you know, that there's in many cases the say the image resolution isn't quite enough to achieve the outcomes that we need. For example, if you look at smallholder farmers that have very small plot sizes, we really don't get enough resolution in those to do precision agriculture with all of the sources of imagery. And then, you know, there are certain limitations, you know, cloud cover, you know, other things like that. But I really think the main limitation is just capacity building in the region, so that folks understand that there are tangible projects can be implemented today. Once you start with that, then you can sort of ride the wave of the increasing technology and take advantage of the new imagery that's coming out. Maybe another one is, you know, ESA provides all of their data for free as a free and open data source, which is a great gift to humanity. But there are a lot of sources that aren't free, and some of the satellite imagery is, you know, is expensive and requires complex negotiations to get access to, you know, all the latest and greatest data that people need. But that's a quick summary, and maybe I don't know if Paolo, if you want to add anything as well.
Hi, Thomas. Thanks. No, probably I'll pass the question to Eric, if Eric is willing to do so, because he has some ideas and he knows very well the potential in Indonesia and another area in Asia. Eric, are you up to?
Yeah, no, I'm here, Paolo. Well, the sky is the limit, sir. I like to say, but definitely what Thomas said is technology is evolving so fast. Of course, there are some constraints in terms of computing capacity, but I think, well, again, it's how we can really better utilize all this information to better inform investment, and that's again this link, because researchers develop some very interesting platforms, but as Abdul mentioned, the main thing is really to apply this technology to the needs, to the development needs, and really build capacity of the taker to utilize this and keep abreast of the latest technology and provide and that's all the advantage of this partnership with ESA and ADB, that we can really provide access to our clients to the latest technology, and this needs to be complemented by robust transfer of knowledge programs. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if I can just jump in now, we're running close to time, and I'm very aware that we have someone who will have to leave for another meeting. So let me first call on him to give his remarks, and then we can come back to the discussion. So I'd like to call on the European Space Agency's Acting Director of Earth Observations Programs and Head of the Earth Observations Projects Department, Mr. Tony Tolker-Nielsen.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Can you hear me? You can hear me well?
Yes, I hear you very well.
That's
yes.
Very good. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us from. It is my great pleasure joining you all today in this important event. As a European Space Agency, we are very happy to be part of this exciting new initiative. We look forward to working together with the Asian Development Bank to help integrate this innovative Earth observation digital technology into ADB operations, as both Bruno and Thomas have described earlier. We have had an ESA technical expert resident in ADB headquarters in Manila since 2017. working alongside our friends from the Japanese Space Agency, JAXA, to raise awareness of the benefits that the EU information can bring to development operations. Asia Pacific is a region where many changes to development are taking place very fast. It is also a region where the effects of climate change, natural disasters, and extreme weather events are having a growing and greater impact. As such, there's a critical need for up-to-date, reliable environmental information. And this is where our EO technology can bring benefit. ADB is a key strategic and important partner for ESA in taking forward this initiative. Space has already become an indispensable deliverer of services supporting many of our day-to-day processes. The European Copernicus program is a game changer for development, delivering free and open data at a global scale, and offering that urgently needed, widely accessible basis for evidence-based decision-making. The Copernicus satellite fleet offers the most comprehensive, complete, and advanced EO monitoring capabilities in the world today. And we are even working on expanding these capabilities with new satellites. The COVID-19 crisis has turned our world upside down. We are all still grappling to even understand the full scope of this. Under extended periods of lockdown around the world, remote working is the new normal, like we are doing right now. And together with the European Commission, ESA has launched the rapid together with the European Commission, ESA has launched the Rapid Action Coronavirus Earth Observation Initiative. This platform uses Earth observation satellite data to measure impacts and monitor recovery aspects associated with the COVID pandemic, including monitoring of a wide range of key environmental parameters, as well as economic and human activities. It's a very good example of how satellite Earth observation can provide solutions for remote management and monitoring of many activities in the COVID-19 context. As Thomas clearly outlined, progress in the use of digital EO information has been and is being made, but not at the speed nor scale required if we are to sustainably tackle the key societal, environmental, and economic challenges of our time. With the support of our member states, ESA has recently launched its own dedicated new program, GDA, Global Development Assistance. In support of this partnership, technical developments on the GDA will be demand-driven, connected to ADB operations, and serve as a catalyst in helping development towards a new path of increased efficiency and impact. As the title of this event says, better data for better decisions. So the ESA GDA program will ensure that new satellite Earth observation applications are being developed to a pre-operational level. Together with the development activities at ADB, this coordinated approach provides the basis for scale-up within the bank's operational settings, consequently enabling long-term sustainability. Finally, for sustainable and global impact, we need to go beyond capacity building and towards local co-creation and skills transfer in developing countries. We stand ready to jointly capitalize on the past decades of efforts on building the world-leading Earth observation service industry in Europe. And we believe that this is the start of a significant digital revolution for the benefit of global development, and we are proud to be in a partnership with the Asian Development Bank in taking this exciting initiative forward. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I'm torn because I should be handing the floor over to ADB's Thomas Abell to wrap up the meeting, but I see there are several questions in the chat box. And if I'm looking, Giovanni, thank you. Since you would like the answer sent to you by email and you've provided your address. We will scroll down if that's okay with you. And I believe Ms. Singh already answered KFW's question, the first one. So another one from Dominique. For ADB colleagues, to what extent have you built up in-house expertise on the use of satellite remote sensing GIS? To what extent do you rely on external service providers? What do development banks need to do to institutionalize such tools? Do I have anyone from ADB who would like to answer this?
Thanks, Tammy. I'll take a first pass at it, and it's a great question. And I think there's a wide range here because we do have expertise spread across the bank that we try to build capacity inside ADB, not so much specifically with Earth observation core technology, but really how to apply Earth observation technologies within our core sector and thematic expertise. So we're bringing on a new role of digital agriculture in our agriculture sector team, for example, and that person would have knowledge of Earth observation for agriculture. We also have within my team, we have secondees, obviously Paolo from ESA, and we've had also one from JAXA, and we have basically trying to get expertise to help us introduce Earth observation into programs, but not at the level where we would be, say, able to, develop new technologies directly. And that's where I think we typically rely on the private sector partners to actually build the technologies, build the machine learning models, create the cloud platforms for the data pipelines, and we have a range of technology partners that we can leverage, and even the European Space Agency with their program has a host of partner organizations that are experts in very specific areas of Earth observation that we can work on. I think part of the work that we're trying to do is really effectively bring those technologies from the private sector partners into our programs in an effective way. And I think this kind of addresses some of the other question that typically private sector partners are not focused on development. I think that we're in partnership with ESA trying to get them to understand more about the development challenges, and once they hear about them and learn the opportunities, they're very interested in that. We had an example of an Earth observation company that we brought into a project, a remote project in one of the Pacific Islands, and it really did, I think, create a lot of energy inside the company, because they were normally just working with developed country partners, and working in a development context, I think really gave them not only a market that's growing that they can expand into, but also kind of a sense of a mission and a contribution to societal issues. And I would just go back. I think, what other banks should do about expertise in Earth observation. I think ADB, we are generally lean. We don't have a very large staff, so we're stretched thin. That's why we really like to rely on partnerships, and some of our other MDB partners sometimes have larger teams to focus on things, and I think this is somewhat of a strategic difference, but I think that this is something that we would basically bring in across our current staff to train them on how to use this technology, rather than building a whole team dedicated to it. Thanks, Tammy. I'll go back to you.
Thank you, Thomas. I want to go now to Tomas Fernandez Garcia, the last question. Could you share the practical experience of the implementation in one of the projects provided, describing the biggest difficulties you face or expect to face to use Earth observation from an implementation and resources point of view? Do we have any takers on this question?
Yeah, let me take this one, Tammy.
I was hoping you would come in, Eric.
To be frank, it has been very, very smooth working with ESA over the last 4 years on different solutions, on different investment. As we have seen, we've been working on disaster, post-disaster reconstruction. We've been working on new investment in water, agriculture, and aquaculture. No, I think, as I said, well, our recipients, our recipient agencies have been very, very keen to learn. So I cannot really say about any implementation constraints. Of course, from ADB side, if we can mobilize more funds to match ESA funding, ESA support, that'd be great to provide more services in country, especially for capacity development and streamlining the technology in country. But that's all I can see now. It has been a great partnership, and again, we are looking with my colleagues from BAPONAS as really expanding this over the next couple of years. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I see that we have a few other questions in the chat box, but in the interest of time, I will leave that to our colleagues to answer in the coming days via email. And at this time, I would now like to call on Thomas Abell again to wrap up the meeting. But before signing off, I'd like to thank all of our presenters and our participants for joining us today. Stay safe and stay well. Thomas?
Great, thanks, Tammy, for helping us get through all of this complicated agenda, and thanks everybody for presenting, and especially for I'd like to thank all of the guests who dialed in today. Obviously, you know, we got a lot of questions, and I think we touched on them, but some of these questions are quite complex, and we will answer them and send out an email with more detailed response, because obviously there's some really good thinking there. And yeah, I would say that, you know, in wrapping this up, I would just like to emphasize that the opportunity is so large here, and our partnership with ESA has been very effective so far. We would definitely like to scale it up, and we are looking to our partners to understand where we should prioritize our investments, and what basically what partnerships can we create to take this even farther than we have, and than we have planned. Each one of our potential partner organizations, you know, has a different expertise and different perspective, and we'd like to learn more about it. We would also like to share in more bilateral conversations what we're doing that may be more relevant than some of the things we've even shown today, and you know, understand you know, some maybe areas that we could look into together. And we really think that we'd like to ramp up our activities in this area. And you know, we have mobilized various resources and funding, and we're looking to increase that. And you know, we're really trying to find out which partners are most interested, so that we can join forces and accomplish more. And I really think, you know, this is a typical technology evolution, where we're kind of at the tip of something that's growing quite rapidly, and it's really hard to say where it's going to go. And we need to really understand various different perspectives to make sure that we're not missing something, or that we're we're really investing where we think the biggest opportunities are. So with that, I will call the meeting to a close, and I'd just like to thank everybody once again for joining, and thank Isa for the valuable partnership that we've made up to this point. And have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch, and reach out to us if you have any other follow-up questions. Thanks again. Bye.